Hello and welcome everyone back to yet another Red Cape Sports video. My name is Bird Bouchard, and at least while I need an introduction, this man right here needs none whatsoever. Please welcome to the show, everyone, the phenomenal Project 2020 artist, Blake Jamieson. Blake, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me, Bird.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously love the shirt there. Definitely phenomenal.
Yep.
And that actually kind of leads, yeah, Bash Brothers. So that actually kind of leads into my first question here. There's been a lot of speculation in terms of the market and what's going to happen with Project 2020, but at least from the time of making this video, it was about a week, maybe a week and a half ago, we got to see Long Gone Summer, which was basically a Mark Mcguire documentary featuring Sammy Sosa. Now, that seems to be your, let's call it your most hyped card. So do you want to talk about first and foremost, let's talk about the eBay auction that you currently have up.
Sure. And actually that's good because I've got this right here. So I guess first of all, so this is the Mark Mcguire card that I created. Yeah. This one's autographed in red, white, and blue, and it comes with the matching Beckett, which it's on the cover of. So this is what's on eBay right now. But I mean, Mark Mcguire is my favorite baseball player of all time, favorite athlete of all time. I grew up idolizing him. I had some really cool fan interactions as a kid that led to me being a lifetime fan, and he's always just been such a good dude. And so I knew that card was going to be really important to me within the set. It was the one that I was by far the most looking forward to painting, just because of my relationship and history with following Mark for a long time. Now, the Topps Project 2020 had the 87 McGwire rookie in the A's uniform as the reference card. And for those that don't know, in Project 2020, there's 20 different artists. We're all given the same reference cards to work from, and we're reimagining these iconic Topps cards in our own ways, our own artistic styles, and then, releasing them to the public. And so, I remember as a kid, the 85 Team USA, which was a Topps card at the time, now Panini holds that license. And so Topps couldn't have that be the reference card, but I wanted like a little bit of homage, at least like a callback to like him playing for the Olympic team before he even was called up to the majors, which is kind of a pretty amazing thing in its own. And so I did a little bit of a color swap and put him in a red jersey, put the American flag behind him, and the card was, did really well. I'm super proud of it. It's definitely going to be hard to top. I think that I'm always most excited about my upcoming card, which my next cards are Willie Mays and Ichiro, which are going to be awesome, but like it's really hard to follow up after this. But it's good because it pushes me in my creative boundaries of what I can do with those players. So right now we're doing an auction on eBay. It's a 3-day auction, so it ends. We started it last night on my live stream. It'll end Friday night, also on my live stream. And it is, so I partnered with this guy, Brian Gonzalez, of Viking Global Foundation, and through Brian and Viking, they're doing 3-to-1 charity matches for COVID-related charities, and so they go out and they vet all the charities, and so I work together with Brian to help find like ones that would be a good fit. And so we're doing Food for the Front Line in NYC, which is like it sounds, it's food for a lot of the first responders and essential workers. And that's through a partnership with Peter Stuyvesant Little League. So it's cool because it has like, the local tie-ins. We have the baseball tie-in with the Little League stuff. And then obviously like, I think this is like, it's my favorite card, and somebody's going to get a pretty cool package. I know. I got to imagine like hanging these up, I think in a nice case would be an awesome addition to any man cave or home.
Oh, for sure. Certainly. Now, did you ever expect, I just checked around 10 minutes ago before actually recording this. Did you ever expect the bid to get that high? Because the last time I checked, it was around 4,000 USD, which is.
Yeah. So honestly, our goal was 5K by Friday night, because the Viking Global Foundation and Brian will match 3X match up to $5,000. So if I can raise $5,000, that means we're going to give $20,000 to Food for the Frontline NYC, which is amazing. And so, like I said, I mean, that was the goal. And Brian and I talked about it and said, okay, well, if we don't get to 5K, like he and I would probably just, put in a little bit of our own money to donate. That way we could like max out the match. But obviously with just launching last night and now already being over 4,000 is humbling and awesome. And it looks like we're definitely going to hit the 5K goal. So it's great. I think like too, almost all the action was last night while we were on the live stream, and it was the first night the auction launched. So I anticipate like we had a bump. We'll see what happens over the next couple of days. But I think on Friday when I'm doing another live stream on YouTube and I'm talking about, it being the last night and the counting down and shouting out to be like, oh, Penny Pincher 007 is now the high bidder. Like that's going to be so much fun. So I think that we're going to have I think it's going to make a lot of impact, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure, your YouTube mixed with, even the Facebook group, you seem to be very, let's call it, very involved, right, within this project. So how important has the interaction within the community been towards, your promotion of the cards and even towards maybe some inspiration for the cards?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part. I think that Project 2020 has exceeded expectations for Topps and for a lot of collectors, and definitely for me as an artist. Going into it, with the whole situation of where the world is at, a lot of people are out of work or underemployed and struggling. And I'm very fortunate and grateful to have this project where I'm continuously, like I have work through the end of the year. And as an artist, that like almost never happens. And so at the beginning of the project, I was looking at it like, wow, I'm so grateful that I have something that I can work on and, and continue to promote myself as an artist and grow as an artist. And one of the things that I didn't anticipate in a good way is like the community really embracing the project and getting involved. And I love getting in that dialogue. And like you said, like being immersed in it. I also grew up a baseball card collector. I think probably like a lot of people my age, collected as a kid like crazy, fell out of the hobby for a while, but still has tons and tons of cards in the garage. And so when this started, I went through all those cards with my dad, and it was so much fun to like dig through all those memories. And so like, yeah, those relationships and like the people that I'm meeting in the hobby are just so cool and generous. And like, we have this, regardless of, where we're from or anything in our life, like we just share this common interest and is bringing a lot of people together, I think, in a very positive way, which is what the world needs right now.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. When this whole pandemic hit, I was kind of wondering how the project would go about, but if anything, it seems like, obviously the pandemic has caused, there's a lot of negatives, but at least for this project, it seems like having people home, collecting, whether it be here in Canada, what we call CERB or stimulus, people are kind of putting that money. Now, Blake, do you feel like it's fair to say that this project is making sports cards cool again? Because I know that there have been a lot of junk wax era cards, let's call them, but now I feel like these cards are cool, right? They're not just sports cards, they're pieces of art, right? And I mean, I don't think personally I'll ever have the money to own, something else from you. I hope one day I get to have that experience, and I'm definitely going to try to do it. But for me, this is such a cool way to own phenomenal art. So just kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think, and this is another, going back to exceeding expectations, is people were looking at first at the set as a set of baseball cards. And when you're just looking at it like that, $20 a card is not very cheap for a card. But if you flip it and you say, well, these are tiny pieces of art, I've never sold art for $20 in my entire career, and even prints and reproductions and stuff. So this is an opportunity, and a lot of my collectors or even aspiring collectors that maybe couldn't afford a piece of art in the past, all of a sudden see the ability to get a tiny painting for $20 seems like a steal. And those guys are coming in and they're buying 10 packs. And so that's been good as far as, helping the print runs and bringing more attention to the project. I think that like Topps, in terms of making making cards cool again, Topps did such a good job curating like a really wide net of artists that are accomplished in many different industries and fields. Like we have graphic designers and people that are influential in fashion, and not just taking, because there are a lot of artists that basically make athlete, maybe they already do baseball cards or sports cards, or they're in that niche. Now I was in that niche sports portraits, primarily NFL. For the last 3 years, I've been doing a lot of one-off portraits for them. And so like we end up with, all of us as artists have very different collector bases and fans, and we all have, you know, pretty amazing supportive fans. And so as soon as this project happened and all those collectors are all congregating and finding new artists, you know, like it's so cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. Now, another thing that I wanted to kind of touch base on is what have been some of the challenges? Because I know that you're also offering autographs. So, you know, just really quickly, like any kind of challenges with whether it be the Mariano Rivera card. You know, I know personally speaking to some other artists, you know, it was a rather difficult card to do just because of the card itself and him leaning up on the wall. So have you had any kind of challenges? And I guess the other portion of that is, what are some of the challenges that have that you've overcome that have just really helped bring your style to just another level, because your work has been fantastic?
Yeah. I think on the artistic side, I don't really feel like I've had any like creative blocks or challenges. The Mariano card was definitely one. When I saw all the cards, I'm like, okay, that one might be, you know, a little bit of a challenge, but I just had that card. That card came out, what, last week?
Yeah.
And I thought I put a fun spin on it. The logistical challenges of having a business take off so quickly, which is definitely a good problem to have.
Right.
But like you mentioned, those autographs. So we are, and I say we because I have an amazing team of people around me, and I've been very fortunate in finding the right people at the right time to help scale the business. But just the logistics of, you know, when we put out autographs, let's just say they're numbered 1 through 99. All different people are ordering them. Some people are like trying to request certain numbers, and some people are having pre-orders, and some are having put in the wrong shipping address on the website. Like there's all these things that can go wrong. And on top of that, like, you know, we get the card from Topps, we have to take it out of the bubble mailer, out of the box, take the sticker off, clean the sticky residue off the case, replace the case if it's scratched, sign the front, number the back. I put a special UV code on the back for like authenticity, record that in like a, you know, spreadsheet. Then we're resealing the case, putting my hologram sticker on, putting that in a team bag, putting that into a custom painted box. You know, I take the Topps 2020 boxes and I'm painting and numbering those to match the cards. So putting it in the right box, and then pairing that with the right certificate of authenticity, and then making sure that that gets the right address and gets to the right person. That's a lot.
Yeah, sure.
It's so many things that a card goes through, from like when they arrive here from Topps to get fully processed and back out the door. And the team has been amazing in really like getting those systems down. And there's definitely been some speed bumps where we have had some errors. We've sent people the wrong card. We sent people too many cards. We sent people not enough cards. And fortunately, you know, the fans and customers have been really understanding so far. And, you know, I tell them, like, my business has never been the way that it is now. And so like I'm learning as I go. And fortunately, you know, the guy who got a couple extra cards literally just sent them back and said, you sent these by mistake, I didn't order them. And meanwhile, another order is like, where's my cards? And we're like, oh, here they are. So like we've been able to kind of smooth everything over. But I think what's important is we are learning from all of those type of hiccups and challenges. And every single time we do it, we get a little bit better, which is kind of the goal. Yeah. But the business growth has been the biggest challenge, and like managing that.
Right. Cool. Now let's kind of talk about let's call it the resale market on eBay. It seems like a lot of collectors, a lot of flippers, you know, like there's just so many different people from so many different realms. So
yeah.
Very quickly, a lot of people have reached out to me and they wanted you to kind of answer. What are your thoughts on the, you know, selling cards before they actually have them in hand? Is that good for the market, bad for the market, good for the print runs? Like, what are your thoughts and takes on that?
It has its pros and cons, like everything else. So, for example, my Trout card that was a collaboration with Ben Baller had hundreds of pre-sales on eBay before the card was even on Topps.com, which is insane. Like, but that was a good indicator of there's a lot of demand for this card, and the print run was very high. My issue with pre-sales is if somebody's selling the card based on today's price, and then it's a pre-sale, like it's going to be it's going to be weeks at least until you have the card in hand. And by the time the seller gets the card in hand, the price, I mean, it's rare that prices just stay the same for a long period of time. You know, we're seeing ups and downs. And so like if the value had gone way up, maybe the seller cancels it and says, oh, I sold, you know, I didn't actually, I put this listed by mistake, right? Yeah. Or on the flip side, like if the prices went down and the seller shipped the card, and then by the time the buyer gets it, the price is down and he's like, oh, I bought this by mistake, I'm going to return this. You know, I've heard some horror stories there. Yeah. So, you know, I don't do that much on the secondary market. If I see other cards that I think are a good deal, you know, through these peaks and valleys, I will pick up cards, whether it's my own cards or it's someone else's, but I'm typically doing buy it nows, and it's for cards that are in hand. I'm not buying anything that's like pre-sale or speculation. I think like, yeah, so those are the pros and cons. I'm okay with it. You know, it's fun to see the resale market. Like for a little while, I was tracking my prices on the secondary market just because I was curious, but it's just it changes so much, and it doesn't really change what I'm doing. Like whether or not my card is selling for $20 on Topps and then immediately $200 on eBay is not going to make me do the art any differently. And so I've just found that like I just don't need to keep up with it because it's going to go up, it's going to go down. And I think in general, like, and I know there are some exceptions, but if you're buying straight from Topps, number one, you have a shot at the gold, which is automatically cool. Yeah. Number two, you're out $20 max for one card. I think that like in the long run, I don't think there are going to be many of these cards available on the secondary market for under retail price, if any. I know that there are some right now from some of the really high print runs, but I think like for my cards, I don't think my cards will ever sell for under $20 on eBay. That's just me betting on myself. But I don't know. I think like if I'm looking at it from like an investment standpoint as a collector, I would be trying to just buy the cards directly from Topps, rather than picking them up on the secondary market and trying to like flip, because there's just, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, definitely over the last couple of weeks, at least me personally, you know, kind of just checking out the secondary eBay market, let's call it, I have kind of seen prices start to climb back to where they were about a month ago. And so, you know, I definitely just wanted to mention that just because a lot of people, you know, a lot of people tend to think that this project is dead. Certainly I do not. You know, I'm still collecting as much as my wallet allows me to.
Yeah.
So that's definitely cool. Now, how do you think the decision to have baseball back, right? Because throughout this entire time, I guess this project was something to do while baseball and other North American sports weren't being played. But with yesterday's decision, baseball is officially back. So do you think we're going to see, you know, an influx in the market, or what do you think is going to happen because baseball is going to be played live?
Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, it would be, now that baseball is back, it would be great to have more current players in the set.
Right, just Trout.
Which is just Trout right now. And I actually had a really interesting conversation with Jeff Heckman, who heads up Project 2020. And some of the team members were coming in asking Jeff different questions. And one of them was, you know, who are some of the people on the cusp that almost were included? So he mentioned like Bryce Harper, for example, was almost in the set. It would have been fun with baseball coming back to have those guys. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be peaks and valleys throughout the whole thing. I think that we have gotten the benefit of people being stuck at home and needing some type of release, and the fact that it's sports related is fun and it's consistent. It's every day at 1 o'clock is fun. So I think that we've gotten a lot of benefit from everyone being stuck at home, and if people are starting to go out, and I'm not even sure, like with baseball back, are they allowing fans?
It doesn't seem like they're going to empty stadiums. Fans, no.
So, like, I think if they're playing in empty stadiums and people are still just staying at home, they just have some baseball to watch on TV.
Right.
I think it's great. I think it's going to help, because it's not like people are taking the money that they might have spent on Topps cards now and they're going to buy baseball tickets to go to the games. They're just watching it on cable. So I think it's going to be a good thing. And I'm excited for baseball to start again. So, you know. selfishly, I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Now, let's talk about kind of the creative mindset. So when you go in to do your cards, it personally, I absolutely love how you do it, and I love on your own YouTube channel. So by the way, if you guys haven't checked out Blake's channel, I will link it down below in the description.
Awesome.
But it's really cool, right? Like just to see the behind the scene of the actual canvas and how you create the cards, which is super cool. Now, obviously, you do that for every card, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. And usually multiple times per card.
Yeah,
I'll make several variations.
Yeah, and then you just decide which one is better.
Sometimes I decide. Sometimes I let the internet decide.
That's
I'll
so
put
cool.
like Ricky Henderson. I just put it up to a vote. There were like 5 different options, and the one that got printed as a card was the overwhelming favorite for people on Twitter and blowout forums and Facebook, and so that's the one we went with.
Yeah, definitely cool, right? Like again, just to go back to the whole community interaction, which is super cool. Now, one thing that I do want to touch base on as well is, speaking of the community interaction, is the decision to go with the fanny pack on Mariano Rivera. Overall, was that, did that receive good feedback, bad feedback? Personally, I was a fan of it, especially the Metallica writing on the t-shirt. Super cool. I just want to kind of pick your brain on all the thoughts and decisions that go into making a card like the Rivera one.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the fanny pack was a very last minute addition. I'm not sure if you saw, so I released, I did like a limited edition art print fanny pack that I released on one of my live streams that was much more popular than I expected it to be honest. I mean, I love fanny packs. I wear one all the time, but like, I didn't know that 400 people would also want to buy one. So there's obviously there was some demand there. And as I was putting together that card, as you mentioned, that one's a little bit different, where he's leaning on the wall. He's not in a uniform. He's not doing anything on a baseball diamond. So it's, it just needed something. And so we started with the Metallica font, making it New York, changing his kind of baggy chinos to what is it called? Like stonewashed, kind of like 90s, like light jeans. And so we were kind of going for that vibe, he was like at a backstage at a Metallica concert or something in the 90s. And yeah, it was right around the time when the fanny packs we were in the final design and order phase with our supplier. And so I had the graphic for it handy, and I just kind of 10 minutes before my card was due, I asked the team, I was like, hey, should I put a fanny pack on Mariano? Like, it kind of fits the time period and fits everything. And they're like, oh, you can see how it looks. And I threw it on there and showed it to everyone. And they're all like, yeah, that's cool. And I didn't know, I sent it to Topps in a PSD file that was layered. So if they had to get rid of the fanny pack, they would still have everything they need to print the card. I wasn't making any extra work for them if they decided that they wanted to nix that. But I mean, they've been so supportive to me and to the other artists, and really letting us do what we want. In terms of feedback, honestly, I have a lot of catch up to do on blowout forums, which is where big conversations going on about 2020. I've seen some things. I know that some people love it, some people hate it, but that's kind of, I think that's the point of art. And if I'm making art that at least a couple people don't like, then I'm probably not pushing the boundaries quite enough. And so it's totally okay with me if it's not someone's style. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a cool card, and it's going to be, and it's fun. And it's also these are little moments of history where we're taking old moments of history and reinventing them and making new history, right? And to me, the fanny pack and right now, it all just fits, and it made it a really fun card for me.
Right. Now, speaking of fun, I believe it was 2 days ago, we saw the Old Man Allen with the Ken Griffey Jr. Price tag. So we're starting to slowly but surely, even see different poses than the original cards. And speaking of Ken Griffey, one thing that a lot of people wanted to know is, are you or any other artists going to have the famous hat backwards? Because that's what Griffey is known for.
Yes. So I am planning on it, but I hope that I'm the first artist to do it. So if another artist does it before me, I may or may not. But as of right now, that's the plan.
Oh, that's absolutely phenomenal. Even seeing his documentary come out the other day, Junior, was phenomenal. So I'm definitely happy with that. Now, you've had all the success, but what's coming next? Like, do you know? I mean, obviously, you know the next two cards, but is there any major projects that you're working on, or anything that you're like, absolutely, when it comes to this player, I must do this?
Sure. So within the baseball card world, we have started to dialogue with Topps about some type of follow-up project in 2021. It's not going to be like Project 2021. It's going to be something different. But they see, they're really happy with what work a lot of the artists have been doing, and I'm very fortunate that I'm one of them that they're stoked about. So we've started that. That's probably going to be my next big exciting project. We don't know what it is yet. Other sports, I've actually, before Project 2020 kicked off, I was in talks with the Premier Lacrosse League, PLL, run by Paul and Michael Rabel, who I've done some paintings for. And I was talking about, they have their lacrosse, like pro lacrosse teams, are clubs that are not tied to a city. They're just clubs. And then the whole league travels to major cities, and they play they'll have a double or triple header 2 days in a row, and every team will play in a weekend. So they'll come to the major markets. They'll come to Boston, they'll come to New York. In fact, I think the first weekend of games is at the Patriots Stadium, Gillette.
Oh, right at Gillette. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been talking to them about doing art for lacrosse art of their players for each of those events, and making like the game poster. When you come and the first 200 fans get a poster, was going to be my artwork. Now, just like with baseball, I think that they're going to be playing without fans in the stands, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like in terms of the merchandise around this season. But if there is a season, and if there's an opportunity for art and merchandise, then that's another project I'm very excited about to work with that. I grew up playing soccer, wrestling, and lacrosse in college. And so I think that's going to be a really fun project. So between that and then whatever Topps comes back to me with are probably the two next big things.
Yeah. And then speaking just of, specifically Topps Project 2020, just because that's personally what my audience loves. Is there anything else that you want to add? Maybe anything that I haven't quite had the chance to ask you yet that, maybe just something that you feel is rather important to add?
So my next two cards are Maze and Ichiro, which I think are going to be awesome. I haven't started painting either of them. I will definitely be doing that on my live stream. And so that's really fun. So that's actually a good thing to tell your fans is, I live stream every single night at 10:23 p.m. Eastern here in my studio. And sometimes I'm painting, sometimes I'm interviewing the head of Project 2020. I talk to other artists. And so I think that's kind of been the hub where a lot of people have been connecting. And it's fun now where, we get the same cast of characters are coming back every night. My dad's always on there. And we've got dozens of people that are there every single night, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, Grant? Oh, what's up, John?" Everyone's checking in on each other, and so it's a really fun, it's a fun community. So I just like to invite any of your listeners or viewers to pop in anytime. We break cards, we do a bunch of giveaways, giving out card art and sell fanny packs sometimes. So it's always a good time. You never know what you're going to get, but that's kind of the fun of it. So Tony wants me to tell you guys a little bit about card art, which we should have some in here. If we're
yes,
talk
definitely.
Go get some. Yeah, so Tony's going to go get some, but essentially what card art is, it's going to be a separate business that Tony and I are working on together, where we're taking existing baseball cards, actually a lot of junk wax cards that maybe people were thinking weren't so cool, and I'm splatter painting on them and adding my touch of art special sauce. And they come out really cool. And again, they're literally tiny paintings. Every single one is one of one, because I could never paint the same thing twice with the way that I'm doing it. Right. And people have really been enjoying it. Up until now, we've just been giving them out. So anybody that's on the YouTube, there's a link on those videos where there's just a claim form. You put in your address, and then Tony is mailing out the cards. So I think we're caught up through June 14th, if I recall. Everyone that had wanted a card up to June 14th has got one, and then we still have a bunch more to send out. So here's an example. What is this? Okay, so these are the Nolan Ryan. So there's the Don Russ Nolan. And so it's fun. Let's see, just bought the whole Nolan box. Oh, here we go. Here's Donnie. There's a Donnie baseball.
Beautiful Don
Mattingly. There we go. Jackie Robinson. So they're fun, and they're tiny canvases, and there's no two that are the same, and so that's a project that Tony and I are getting ready to launch, kind of from a more commercial standpoint, where we will have some cards available if people are like, oh my gosh, I need this Mike Trout one. They could buy the Mike Trout one, and then there'll also be a system where people will be able to mail in cards and basically pay to have me Blakeify them. So that's an exciting thing that Tony and I are working hard on, in addition to getting all of the 2020 stuff running smoothly. Let's see, what was the other thing you wanted me to tell about? Okay, yeah. So also another thing that will be launched on my live stream, the Mariano Rivera autographed editions. I launch all my autos on like a password protected page, and then I give out the password during my live streams to give those people the first shot. And we've learned a lot doing these autos in terms of where we should price them at and how big we should make the runs. And every time, like I said, it's my first time, but every time we learn, and hopefully we have a system set up with this Mo card where anybody that wants an auto should be able to get one and be able to afford it, which is going to be awesome. And I think that we don't have an exact day of when we're going to launch those autos yet. I'm not in a huge hurry because we haven't received the Trout cards yet, and once those come, that's a lot of cards to sign and ship back out. The Mark Mcguire cards are more than halfway packed up. Tony's been working on that for the last 36 hours pretty much straight, and so we're going to be taking a bunch of those to the post office today and getting those out the door. So I typically don't like to launch a new autograph until we've got everything that's in the studio is already shipped out. Everyone that's already ordered something, that's the priority. We got to get them their stuff, and then we'll worry about doing sales of the next thing. So it might be, I would guess, either late this week or early next week is when we'll launch the Mo autos.
Awesome. So for all my fans, definitely check that out. Like I said, Blake has just been phenomenal. Blake, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely appreciate it. And I honestly cannot wait to see the next cards, being Willie Mays, Ichiro, especially Ken Griffey. Definitely looking forward to the hat backwards. He was my favorite player of all time. So
awesome.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be a fun one.
Yep. Again, guys, make sure to subscribe. Check out Blake's live YouTube channel. He does amazing stuff there. Make sure to check out his card art. Basically, just check out Blake. He's a great guy, obviously. Thanks, so thank you so much for being here, Blake.
Yeah, thank you, Bert. I appreciate it.